Hi there and welcome back. I'm Bob Hall. I work with TIG Canada, and this is the third video in our series of how to use Jive, Telephony Portal, as well as GoToMeeting. Today I think we'll start out with looking at how to log in again, just as a refresher from our last couple of calls. If you remember, this is the Jive portal, so www.jive.com. You click on the login button. It's going to prompt us for our email address. So you put in your corporate email address, your password. If you haven't saved it in here, then it'll force you to put it in every time. You can also check to make sure it is you in case you happen to be using a shared computer that somebody else might have logged in the past. And then you click the sign in button. After a moment, you're going to end up landing on the landing page for Jive and GoToMeeting. If you remember from our last couple of videos, on the left-hand side shows all of our preferences. And in the middle of the panel here allows us to choose either Jive or GoToMeeting. Today, we're going to be working with GoToMeeting. So we're going to click on the My Meetings button. It's going to open up a new tab in your browser, and it's going to take us to what's called the GoToMeeting Hub. The first time that you log in, it does prompt you if you want to have a quick tour, so you can look through all of the different things. They give you a guided tour of how this works. This is the landing page that you're going to be logging into every time that you log into GoToMeeting. And you can bookmark this and go here directly without having to go through the landing page. I just like to do it that way myself because it's something that's easy to remember, and it doesn't matter if you're on your own computer or you're sitting in a shared computer in a boardroom. You can easily get to jive.com and log in from there. The screen has some quick information on it. On the right-hand side is a standard meeting that you set up, and you can use this link anytime that you want to in order to be able to set up a quick video meeting or a conference call with your customers or an internal one. On the left-hand side of this screen, it also shows you any that you have already set up, and we're going to do a couple of those today, as well as your history. So when you click on the history, it shows up with all of the meetings that you have set up and run over the last little while. On the left-hand side of the screen, as you can see, is my face. You can click on here and you can change your status to make you available. You can click whatever you like to in there. You can edit your profile in here, and you can also click sign out. Underneath the next tab is meetings, which brings us to the page that we're on right here. Chats we don't use. It does allow you to be able to have chat sessions in the system, but it's not highly used. And then the next piece is settings. So if we click on settings, we can go in here and we can have a quick look at our customized settings for the meetings. Okay, you can set up an organizer pin so that every meeting that you have will require a pin number to be put in there. You can, on the next piece down, you can set up your audio, so you can choose which speakers you're going to use in order to be able to make your calls and stuff like that. In my case, I'm using the built-in computer speakers. And you can choose what numbers will be included in the invite when it's created. We have Canada first because that's where we're located, but we also include the United States numbers in case we happen to be doing a call with the folks from the US. We don't include toll-free numbers other than those that are from the United States, and that's just by default. We get billed for those numbers. There's some other features that you can set up in here, which include giving attendees full access to screen sharing. So if you take this checkbox out of here, then you have to make them a presenter. If you leave that checkbox in there, they have the option to be able to share their screen. Makes it a little bit easier. You can use Google Chrome browser, has some built-in functionality that you can run with it. You can set it up to record your cloud meetings, transcribe and record meetings, right? And it'll also detect any slides that are in there and do its best to try and save those. It's important to remember that when you turn on cloud recording, it does notify the users, which is what we want, but you should let them know first before you're going to do that. Okay, and this piece here, content and cloud sharing security, it's set up by default that only I get to choose, or I get to look at it. Okay, that's the basic meeting settings, and then from a notifications perspective, you can set it up to say do not disturb, and what that does is it links with your calendar, right? And most of us don't bother doing that, but if you do link with your calendar, it can set up both your Jive phone so that it says that you're not available when you're doing GoToMeetings, as well as put meetings right into your calendar. And then here you can sync directly with it if you want to. You're welcome to do that if it makes it easier for you. I do most of my meetings manually, and that's about it from that page. We're going to click back over onto meetings here. And as I mentioned, this meeting that's set up here is a standard meeting that allows you anytime. You could just send this link out in an email right now to a bunch of people or to a customer, and you can do a online GoToMeeting, or you can do just a telephone call meeting if you want to. Okay. What's important to remember when using GoToMeeting is that if you expect users to be able to log in leveraging their computer and VoIP, then you need to remember to start the meeting in the web browser as well. If you don't, what will happen is when you call into the number and start your meeting with the telephone number, everybody on the phone will hear you and will be able to communicate with you, but those who have logged in using their computer will be sitting there getting told that it's waiting for the meeting to start. So that's important. What we're going to do now is we're going to quickly create a meeting so that I can go through some of the steps with you. The first thing what we do is we click on Create a Meeting tab, and this little pop-up shows up. Inside of the pop-up, you can put in what your meeting title is. So we just call this meeting Test Meeting, or TIG. And we can choose if it's going to be a one-time meeting, right? Or if it's going to be an online meeting room. So we can make more meetings that are called online meeting rooms, which can be used for reoccurring meetings. The setup is the same. The difference is if I click on online meeting room, it doesn't put a calendar in there. If I put one-time meeting, it does put a calendar in there. If somebody tries to log into the meeting, and we're setting this for 11 o'clock, if somebody tries to log into the meeting at 10:45, it will tell them that it's waiting for the organizer to start. If we click on the audio tab, we can manually decide how we want to deal with numbers. So as I mentioned, Canadian numbers always show up, and so do American numbers. You could actually turn off the telephone and make it that everybody has to log in using built-in audio. I don't recommend that because there are some people who don't have the ability to be able to log in with their computer. There is an option for use my own conference call service. Some of you have set this up already and put in the conference bridge inside of our Jive system, the 4-digit number that you have. Please stop using that effective the 1st of May. We're going to be deleting those conference bridges and relying 100% on GoToMeeting. Under the Personalize tab, if you click Personalize My Meeting, it allows us to be able to do a couple of neat things. First, it gives us a customized link that we can use. And the last part of the link is the name of the meeting. And you can call this whatever you want to, but it makes it easier for people if you want to send them this link rather than the numbered link that's automatically generated. And you can also change the color of the landing page that they go to when they're on the web when you start up that meeting. And you can modify your user profile, which we did in the very first video that has my LinkedIn. If you remember, it has my LinkedIn profile. You can go in here and make a change to that as well. If we click on the preview button, it's going to open up a window and it shows us what we've got set up here. So that's the title that I put in there. I'm located in Canada, and if you click on About Me, it shows you my information for LinkedIn. And then back over here, we have one last tab, which is called More. And in here, you can do a couple of things. The first thing you do is you can assign somebody else to be the co-organizer for the meeting. So if I wanted to, I could put Paul's name in there, or anybody that's inside of our organization's name in there. And if for whatever reason I'm unable to attend the meeting or I'm running a little bit late, that co-organizer has the ability to be able to start the meeting on my behalf. And then the last piece that you can do is if you click Require a Password, what will happen is when you go to start the meeting, it will prompt you to put in a password for all attendees. And we'll talk about that in just one second. And we go ahead and we click Save. Now, The meeting is now going to show up over here. As you can see on the left-hand side, 11 a.m., test for TIG. It's a 30 minutes. There's the custom link. Okay, so it's right there. And what we can do is we can simply just take and copy and paste this and send it out into an email for our customers, okay? Or for whoever we want to visit it. If we've made a mistake in here, we can quickly go in and edit it, right? Or if we don't need this guy anymore, we can delete it, and the edit button will open up the window again. When we have done what I did, which was require us to have a password, what you're going to want to do here is go copy the invitation, open up your email, paste this in, and where you see the # meeting password, you change that with what the password is for this meeting. An important thing to remember when you do this is if you're using a password, you're going to want to change the meeting status inside of Outlook. When you're creating that meeting, you're going to want to change it to include private as being the type of meeting. And what that means is people who are looking inside of calendars, they won't be able to open up that meeting request and see what the password is. So that makes it you don't have to worry about other people logging into your GoToMeeting session. That's about it. That's how you set up meetings. That's kind of the process on how we do things. The next thing is if we want to actually start the meeting. So when we click on the start button, it's going to open up a new window that will allow us to be able to set up our voice mechanism, how we're going to actually communicate on the meeting, as well as turn on our camera if we want to, and all that kind of neat stuff. So I'm going to click on the start button right now. And in a second, you're going to see that it's going to pop up with another. Okay, and now what has opened up here is a box that's called a launch application box. This is a little bit different than what you'll see on a Windows machine, as I'm running a Mac, but it's very similar. Basically, it's going to come up and it's going to ask you to choose what application to use. By default, it's going to choose GoToOpener. So then we click Open the Link. And now what pops up, because we have set this meeting up so that it has a password, is where we type in the password that we have decided that we're going to use for this. So we're going to put in here password 1 2 3, and we'll do it again, and then we click OK. And as you can see, a new window has popped up now that the session is opened. Here we have a few controls that we're able to work with. If you look at the top left side, you can see that it says record. If we click here, then the meeting will be recorded. And it tells you that we are now recording. If you hold your mouse down over the bottom of the window, you'll see that you have a few options. You can mute yourself, so click mute, and it will come up and let you know that you've muted. You can turn your camera on, which would then take whatever it is that your camera is looking at and put it up on the screen. And you can go share your screen, which will allow you to actually share your desktop to everybody who is going to be in your meeting. And you can hang up. As people log into the session, they'll show up just like I am right here, where it says Bob Hall with initials. If the camera is turned on, their picture will show up in the camera. If they're just dialed in by telephone, then all they will see is, or all that you will see is either their telephone number, or if they use the PIN associated to the call, you'll see their name from the invite. You can change the way that you're looking at things by clicking the little box in the middle here, and you can choose which way you'd like to do it. You can hide everyone so you don't see everybody. You can show it up so that only who's talking is showing up, or you can click to show everyone. And in this case, there's just me in the meeting right now, so you only see myself in there. Also along the top, we have what is the people list. So when you click on this, it pops up a little piece here, and you can see exactly who is in the meeting. And from here you can have some controls. So in this case, the meeting is unlocked. However, we did force everybody who logs in, they're going to have to provide a password. By locking the meeting means that we can close it, not let anybody else enter the meeting at this time. Again, along the top here, we have a couple of commands. Since we're the meeting organizer, we can click mute all, which will mute everybody who is participating except for whoever the presenter is. In this case, it's me. Unmute all will allow everybody the option to talk again. If you want to, you can quickly send out an invite from here. So you click the plus, the icon right here, and it'll allow you to type in email addresses and send out an invite to people who you might have forgotten. Or the easier way that I found is to click on copy the meeting link and then go into your email and do it yourself that way. Okay. Now, we don't have all other users in here right now, but there would be a list of everybody who's attending along here, and it will show you the status of their microphone as well. If they've muted themselves, then it'll show up as red. If they're unmuted, it'll show up as green. Additionally, while people are talking inside of GoToMeeting, you can actually see who is speaking, because around their name will light up with a ring. So when there's multiple people in here, you'll be able to see who's speaking at any given time. It helps you with identifying where noises are coming from. So if somebody banging things or the dog's barking in the back of the meeting, you can quickly mute them yourself in order to stop that background noise. The next option that we have along the top here is chat option. So inside of here, you have the ability to be able to chat with the attendees. So perhaps maybe we have somebody who is in the meeting and they're talking, but you can't hear them. It might be because they're muted. So you could type a message in here and say, hey, you're muted, and then send that. Now, in this case, this meeting or this chat went to everybody who's in the meeting, but we could actually choose from the drop down to just send it to the organizer. So if you're participating in the meeting, the message is only going to come to me. Maybe you're going to say, Bob, I can't hear you at all, and we're watching your lips move, but you're not talking. Or if there are other attendees inside of the meeting, you can quickly choose one of their names and send a message directly to them, so that you could let them know that their camera is turned on and they might not realize it. To get rid of the chat, you just click the X and it goes away. The last thing that we're going to just quickly look at is we do have some settings capabilities in here. So you can actually see what your camera is doing right now, as you can see what mine is doing, even though it's not turned on. You could choose which camera you're going to want to use. If you have multiple cameras on your computer system, you can pick which one. You could switch over and go to phone rather than audio. So right now we're using the built-in microphone, and my speakers are hooked up. My computer is hooked up to a Samsung television, so it's using the speakers off of the TV to make sound come through. So you can click turn off computer audio, and it'll force you to go over to using the telephone. And the other thing you can do is you can change from widescreen to standard for your camera. Standard narrows it in a bit so that you don't have such a broad background when you're doing your video conferencing, and that's good if there's other people that are in the room. And then there is a little drop down piece over here which you can go and get more information about the version of GoToMeeting, or you can get some support if you need to. And that just about summarizes how to manage GoToMeeting when you're the person who has set up the meeting and invited people in to do your conference call or do your video meeting. And what we would do now when we're done our meeting is we quickly click the leave button, and it'll come up and it'll say end the meeting for everybody, and you say yes, and then away goes your meeting. And that's about it for today. I hope you guys have found this video useful, and if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to give us a call. If you're having trouble getting GoToMeeting running on your computer, help desk is available, as well as Andrew or myself. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.